Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
We're following breaking news in Sumter Township. That's where we're told police are on the scene of a crash. This is in the area of Sumter Road. We have calls into the police department there. We will bring you any updates on air and online at clickondetroit.com. Our other top story is the weather on this Memorial Day weekend. We're wrapping up another beautiful day across Metro Detroit. Let's get over to Ron with a look at what we can expect tomorrow. Ron, hopefully more of the same.
Yeah, really nice weather, but the thing is, it's really dry out there. We're going to need some rain eventually, or just a lot of people out there watering their gardens. And of course, the farmland out there is going to need that water. We have a little bit of cloud cover out there, but there is still going to be some areas where we have some of that view of the sky. We can still see some of the stars and the moon out there. It's not that thick out there. So you can see out there still some areas where you can see through some of those clouds. They're not very thick in all places. But I want to show you what's happening downtown. This is Hart Plaza. Once again, we are seeing the Movement Festival continuing with a lot of people down there enjoying themselves. It is 67 in Detroit, but you see right there, Ann Arbor 58, it's 54 in Port Huron, 65 in Adrian. Very light winds out there. So tonight, we're going to see those temperatures falling down very gradually. We'll be around 63 overnight at 3 in the morning, around 7 in the morning, 57 degrees, and then we start seeing those temperatures rising again. We'll be up to about 80 degrees for noon, 84 as we get toward 4 p.m. So what we're going to be seeing tomorrow, we're going to see a lot of sunshine, very warm weather, and then as we get into the evening hours, we start to see some clearing, but it is still going to be mild at nighttime. So if you want to follow along and see what's happening, you can, of course, download the Forewarn Weather app. You can get accurate forecasts for your neighborhood. It's always tracking, always watching. You can get the Forewarn Exact Track 4D radar, and all you have to do, if you don't already have it, is get it on your phone by searching WDIV. It's free for Android and Apple.
Thank you, Ron. With Memorial Day weekend in full swing, Metro Detroiters came out in droves to enjoy themselves, whether it was the Movement Festival at Hart Plaza or Belle Isle. Victor Williams joins us live with more. Hey, Victor, I hope you're having a good time tonight.
Oh yeah, well, we're having a great time. It seems like everyone is outside right now downtown. You can take a look right here behind me and even see this long line of people getting ready to enter into one of the nightclubs here. But chances are, if you weren't here today, you were somewhere else.
It's a good thing to see everybody out, you know what I'm saying?
With Memorial Day weekend marking the unofficial start of summer, Detroiters are taking advantage of higher temps by simply being outside.
And it's a good day in the neighborhood.
Belle Isle was packed.
It's actually nice out here to come out here with your family and walk around on a beautiful day.
So much so that at one point the Department of Natural Resources stopped all drivers from entering for several hours because there were too many cars on the island.
I'm glad they let everybody back on and have fun and do whatever they want to do.
If that wasn't the case, more than likely people were at Hart Plaza for Movement 2023.
This weekend is perfect for this type of event. Yeah, not too hot, not too cold. You got some breeze, and it hits you just right.
And as the day dies down, the nightlife is vibrant, with bars and restaurants open for business. A very big difference from how things were during the pandemic just a few years ago.
I love the restaurants downtown, especially the more authentic, the realer you get, the deeper the flavors get. It's really nice to go from 2020 and it's so quiet and see the phoenix rise and see the sound of the phoenix. And it's a very beautiful sound, and I'm excited for its potentiality.
And we know those sounds are going to continue well into tomorrow, with that being the holiday. So, of course, you guys stay safe. Victor Williams, Local 4.
Looks like a lot of fun. All right, Victor, thank you. Detroit police are searching for 3 men they believe are part of a dangerous criminal group. Investigators say officers were chasing the men in a car Saturday night. They say the group dumped the car and 2 of them got away. The 3rd man ran into a family's home on Trinity Street on the city's west side, sending that family running outside. The standoff lasted for hours until officers entered the home and could not find him. Chief James White believes the men have information on a carjacking and a deadly shooting at a Detroit Coney Island.
We believe that this group is good for that, or at least has information on that murder robbery. And we also believe, based on the pattern and some information from our crime intelligence unit, that they are likely tied to these other events that I've spoke of.
If you have any information on those 3 men, you're asked to call Detroit police. Police are investigating a shooting at a neighborhood block party on Detroit's west side. They say it happened around 3 this morning near Pearson and Keeler. We're told 2 groups of people got into an argument. Police say 2 people were shot. We're still waiting to hear how they're doing tonight. An investigation is underway after a body was pulled out of the Detroit River this morning. Police say it was found around 11:30 near the Aretha Franklin Amphitheater and the Renaissance Center. They say it was a man's body. They're still working to identify who it was. We're not sure how the man died or how he ended up in the river. Novi native Paul Whelan continues his stay in a Russian prison. He has been wrongfully detained for 4.5 years now. Local 4's Rod Maloney spoke with Paul's brother, David.
One of the things that we could count on early on when Paul Whelan was first arrested was him trying to get messages out through the media while he was in the courtroom. But 4.5 years later, when he's in a Mordovian prison, it's press coverage that is causing him trouble now. Paul Whelan spent some time this past week in his distant Mordovan prison yard dodging a Russian TV camera crew. His brother David telling Local 4 they wanted him to do an interview and he politely turned them down. Not so politely, Russian prison guards went to the personal storage area and made sure he paid dearly.
They just trampled over them in their muddy boots. They pulled apart packets of letters and strew those around. They stole some things that he had made for himself, some hats to keep warm, some cardigans that he had repaired, again, to stay warm.
It is the first time a Russian news crew sought access, and because Paul can call his parents weekly, they warned him off going on camera, fearing its propaganda value.
We had interacted with Paul in advance and suggested that he not say anything to them, and he had already come to that determination on his own. So he didn't, and apparently that was very frustrating for the crew who had come out to take pictures of him, and that frustration has been passed on to the prison staff.
While Paul is likely used to this kind of treatment, it's certainly difficult for family back here in the States to stand back and watch helplessly.
I would think it would be pretty demoralizing to see something that you had made being taken or destroyed. And really, it's not just the act of the specific thing being stolen by the prison guards, but realizing that you're really at their mercy, that this might be all that they do, and it might not be. It might be something that they escalate in the future.
Now, David Whelan tells us the family is getting weary after all of this time, and they are starting to take on the attitude that as far as they can tell, unless something changes dramatically, that they don't think Paul is going to be out of prison before January of 2035. In Detroit, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
The Whelan family says the Biden administration is doing what it can for Paul. The U.S. ambassador to Russia paid a personal visit to Paul in prison earlier this month. We're learning more about the deal worked out on Saturday to extend America's current debt limit for 2 years so the U.S. would not default on its debt in June. But the work is far from over and the clock is still ticking down. NBC's Ali Rafa has more from Washington.
This deal is good news, I believe you'll see, for the American people. The agreement prevents the worst possible crisis, a default.
Tonight, a long-awaited deal to lift the nation's debt ceiling reached. But the race to avert a potentially disastrous default is in many ways just beginning.
We know at any time when you sit and negotiate within 2 parties that you got to work with both sides of the aisle.
President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy finalized the deal on a phone call this evening, locking in a budget and debt limit increase until after the 2024 election. But the agreement is a hard sell for some far-right Republicans and progressives.
It is bad policy. I told the president that directly when he called me last week on Wednesday, that this is saying to poor people and people who are in need that we don't trust them.
If this is another round of sequestration, not only will I vote no, I will not be intimidated by June 5th.
June 5th, now the earliest estimated date the U.S. will no longer be able to pay its bills.
It doesn't get everything everybody wanted.
The deal calls for spending on most items next year to remain roughly the same, with the exception of defense spending and veterans programs. Temporary changes to increase work requirements for people on food stamps, which Democrats fiercely oppose. But there are no changes to Medicaid, a priority for the president. A compromise also reached to make it easier for companies to receive permits for energy projects.
The negotiations were intense. They were quite challenging. The outcome of that is a fundamental shift in the spending trajectory in Washington.
The deal will have to pass in both the House and Senate before the president can sign it into law. McCarthy vowing lawmakers will have 3 days to read the 150-page document before holding a vote.
It could take as long as a week if Republicans use all of the procedural tactics at their disposal. That, of course, would result in a default on American debt. Yeah, something that we would never recover from.
White House and Republican officials now working the phones, trying to shore up as much support as possible from the middle of their parties before the House votes on the deal as early as Wednesday. Both sides confident they can pull this across the finish line in time.
We did a conference call with our conference, and over 95% were overwhelmingly excited about what they see.
Yes. That was Ali Rafa reporting. Again, Congress will still have to approve the deal before it makes it to President Biden's desk. Still to come, giving back to the youth. We'll show you how a NFL star with Detroit roots is helping youngsters learn more about the game than football. Plus, a shootout on a moving bus. Find out what police say led to a bus driver and passenger firing at each other. But first, our summer bucket list is just getting started. I'll show you a special place on Lake Huron that's perfect for your next adventure.